It's a very familiar line from Jesus, a beloved quote. Come to me, all you that are weary and carrying heavy burdens, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls, for my yoke is easy and my burden is light. That used to actually be read as a part of every Episcopal communion service in the old prayer book. In fact, I can still hear it in my father's voice in the old King James translation. Come unto me, all ye that travail and are heavy laden, and I will refresh you. And I hear it in his voice. On the surface of it, it seems a wonderful promise. A promise that we all need. Not just at a time like this, in the midst of pandemics and cultural crises, but all the time. We so often feel that need of rest and a moment with an easy yoke and a light burden. But there's a problem with that. And the problem with that is that that's not what the rest of the New Testament tells us. In fact, the rest of the New Testament promises us things like, you will be persecuted for my name's sake, or the Son of Man has no place to lay his head, or the disciple should not seek better than the master. And guess what happened to the master? And so what is it that we're actually being promised here? What is Jesus telling us? Well, to understand that, to unpack that, we need to understand actually how Matthew structured the story of his gospel, how he structured the telling of the gospel. Matthew actually organized his gospel into some rather distinct blocks of different styles of teaching and accounts and tellings of stories from the life of Jesus and so forth. It's actually a very Jewish method of teaching. And it begins, the first 4 chapters tell of the birth of Jesus and the prophecies around him and his genealogy and so forth. Then the next section, Jesus now having been called and is clearly now functioning as the Son of God, is 3 chapters of moral teaching, which we now know as the Sermon on the Mount, Matthew chapters 5 through 7. After that, we move into a section that sometimes it's called a travelogue, where Jesus is moving about and he's interspersing miracles with teachings about what it means to be a disciple, what it means to be a follower of Jesus, what that should look like. And today's passage is actually the culmination of that little series of teachings. And we've actually been reading some of them over the last several weeks. The sending out of the 70, when he warned them that there would be places where they would not be well received. They were not to take a purse or sandals or a staff or an extra cloak. They were to depend on others. It was not going to be easy for them. And then we come to today's passage. Following warnings that Jesus often separates father from son, mother-in-law from daughter-in-law, and so forth. But he also gives the promise that those who receive you receive me, and those who receive me receive the Father. And then we get in the middle of this, some coming from John the Baptist, who said to Jesus, "Are you the one? Are you the one? Or are we waiting for someone else?" And Jesus talks about John's work and how important it is, and he says to the disciples of John, "Look and see. What do you see happening? The blind receive their sight. The poor have good news preached to them." And he offers woes to cities that do not repent. It's really kind of a discourse on teaching, on mission, on what mission is going to look like. That yes, there will be those who receive, but there will be those who do not. And there will be opposition, and there will be struggles, and there will be difficulties. And in fact, we know from reading on in the book of Acts and others that sometimes that entailed beatings and imprisonments and even death for some of the disciples and followers of Jesus. And finally, we come to this rather puzzling pair of teachings. Jesus thanks God that these things have been hidden from the wise and intelligent and revealed to infants. Which immediately, of course, brings up the question, what exactly is it that's hidden? And what is it that's being revealed? What is hidden from the wise and the intelligent in such a way that they don't see it? And what is it that infants, in turn, understand? And I think what it is the very object of the mission on which they are being sent. That is, how we are restored to God, how we are made right in fellowship with God the Father, and how we invite others. It's hidden from the wise because the wise want it to be complicated, want it to be difficult, want it to take a lot of understanding. But the babies get it, because babies understand a trusting relationship. Babies understand what it is to place yourself in the hands of another. I used to work at a diocesan church camp, and one of my favorite memories from that camp was this week. Every summer, it wasn't a week, it was actually only about 4 days, we called it Opportunity Camp. And we would have a bunch of children who lived in various special needs institutions for children with multiple handicaps and mental limitations and so forth. And a couple of the summers, one of my tasks was to be in charge of the waterfront. Well, that also included driving the bus to the waterfront. And so we would load the kids on the bus and drive them down to the beach to let them play on the beach, on the shore of Lake Erie. Now, if you were to see that beach now, you might think, ooh, yuck, but we were doing it then. And I would, after arriving at the beach, I would stand at the door of the bus, yellow school bus, big old yellow school bus. And I would just put my hands up like this as the children came to the top of the steps on the bus. And they would just fall. They just trusted that I would catch them. The big ones, the little ones. They just trusted that I would take care of them. And I found it a wonderful experience to be trusted in that way. You see, grown-ups don't do that. Grown-ups worry, wait a minute, is he paying attention? Is he looking? Is he going to catch me? Am I too heavy? What happens if I fall this way or that way? What happens if I hit the ground? What happens? What happens? What happens? We make it complicated. We make it difficult. We look for all the rules. We try to manufacture all the mental calculations. But the children had the ability to come to it with that simple trust, that simple confidence that they would be cared for. You see, the parallel for us as Christians, we, you and I, who are wise and intelligent, you know we're in that category, right? We're the wise and intelligent ones. You see, we want to make it about doing it right. We want to make it about doing the right things, about having the correct doctrine, about following the commandments properly, about understanding our Christian duty and living that out. Now, I don't want to slough those things off. It is important that we apply our God-given gifts to understand as well as we can the truth that God has revealed to us, and to follow his commandments as we are able, and to use the teachings of God and the teachings of the scriptures as a model for how we are to live. Those things shape us and form us, and they shape our witness to the world around us. But they are not the foundation of our relationship with God. They are not the things that make us right with God. Our salvation is not rooted in correct doctrine. I always get a little nervous when I drive around and I see churches named things like Gospel Truth Center. Now, I don't know anything about the inside life of these parishes, but I worry that there's too much of an emphasis on knowing the truth, the correct doctrine, having the accurate interpretation, which unfortunately usually means the pastor's interpretation. I hope you know that I may or may not be correct on some of this stuff. I hope by the grace of God, I have the main things right. I work at that. I pray for that. I try. I study. I read. But I hope you know that my relationship with Jesus and your relationship with Jesus is not rooted in the correctness of your doctrine or my doctrine or what I say right here and now. It is rooted just like those little children in our simple trust in Jesus. And so with that in mind, suddenly we get a different understanding when Jesus says, "Come to me, all you that labor and are burdened down." You're trying to follow the commandments. You're trying to do it right. You feel the weight of that command. You feel the weight, the burden of doing all these things correctly. But Jesus has a different promise for us. I will give you rest, he says. You can rest in the confidence of this relationship. You can rest in that simple trust. You can fall down the steps of the bus and you will be held. You will be caught. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart. Jesus is not here to beat us into submission. He's not here to just crack a whip over us. He is here to love us and to care for us. And yes, he does give us a purpose. And he sends us in mission to the world that is around us. And sometimes that's difficult. Sometimes that's challenging. But at the heart of it is that easy burden of knowing that we are his. That our rightness with God, our relationship with God, doesn't rest on getting all that other stuff correct. That's where the burden is light. That's where the yoke is easy. And all those other things, yes, we work at it. Yes, we try. Yes, we let them make us stronger and teach us more about what it is to be a servant of God. And we work at it. But at the center is an easy yoke. A yoke of a simple, childlike trust in the one who promises to catch us and to care for us. Come to me, all you that are weary and are carrying heavy burdens, and I will give you rest. Jesus knows we're working at it. Jesus knows we feel those burdens. Jesus knows the guilt that we carry when we fail. But his promise to us is, take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. I pray that we will each catch that burden, that vision, and take that yoke. Don't let the world put its yokes on you and pull you in 100 different directions. Don't let your guilt put a yoke upon you and make you worry that maybe God isn't there for you. Set those yokes aside. Carry one, and only one. The light one. Let's pray together. Dear Jesus, we thank you for gathering us together. We thank you for this opportunity to be before you. We thank you, Lord, that you do promise to catch us, that our faith, our trust in you is indeed a light burden and an easy yoke. Give us the grace that we may not confuse being loved and received by you with the challenges that are sometimes before us in the course of this life. May we each hold on to you in confident trust and let the rest come and go as we are first your children. Amen.